The first time I realized my mother wasn't coming to my wedding wasn't when she ignored my invitation. It was when she looked me straight in the eyes and said, "I won't sit there and pretend this marriage is a good idea." The room went silent. My fiancé, Ethan, squeezed my hand under the table, trying to keep me calm. My father stared down at his coffee, refusing to say a word. I waited for my mom to smile, to tell me she was joking. She never did. Instead, she pushed the invitation back across the kitchen table. "You can mail this to someone who actually supports you." I swallowed hard. "Mom, it's my wedding. And it's your mistake." No one moved. The only sound was the ticking clock above the refrigerator. Ethan finally spoke. "I know you don't know me very well, Mrs. Carter, but I love your daughter." She didn't even look at him. "I'm sure you think you do." He stayed calm. "I do." She stood up. "No. You love the version of her that's easy right now. When life gets hard, you'll leave." I couldn't stay quiet anymore. "Why would you say that?" She looked at me with the same expression she'd worn for years whenever she thought I was making the wrong decision. "Because I've seen men like him. You've known Ethan for 3 years. I've known people for 60. The conversation was over in her mind. She picked up her purse and walked toward the front door. Before leaving, she turned back one last time. "When this falls apart, don't expect me to pretend I didn't warn you." The door closed behind her. No hug. No congratulations. Nothing. Ethan let out a slow breath. "I'm sorry." I shook my head. "You didn't do anything." But inside, I was asking myself a question I hadn't wanted to admit. Why did my mother hate the man I loved? If you'd met Ethan, you'd probably like him immediately. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't rich. He worked as a high school history teacher because he genuinely loved helping kids. He remembered birthdays. He called his grandmother every Sunday. He cried during dog rescue videos. He was the kind of person who apologized when someone else bumped into him. He wasn't perfect. Neither was I. But we were good together. That was enough for me. Apparently, it wasn't enough for my mother. My mom had always believed success looked a certain way. Big house. Luxury car. Expensive job title. She spent 32 years working in corporate finance and measured almost everything by stability. She'd introduced me to lawyers' sons, doctors, business owners. One Christmas, she'd actually handed me a business card from the son of one of her coworkers. "He's single. You should call him." I don't even know him. That's what dates are for. I never called. Then I met Ethan 6 months later. From the beginning, she decided he wasn't good enough. Not because he'd done anything wrong, because he made $48,000 a year. To her, that was all she needed to know. 3 weeks after that dinner, wedding planning was in full swing. Or at least it should have been. Instead of helping choose flowers or tasting cakes, I spent most evenings answering awkward questions. "Will your mom be there?" "I don't know." "Have you talked to her?" "I've tried." Every phone call went unanswered. Every text stayed on read. My younger brother, Mason, called one night. "I saw Mom." "How is she?" He hesitated. "Still angry." "About what?" "You." I laughed quietly. "I figured." "No. You don't understand. She's telling everyone she refused to support the wedding." My stomach tightened. "What do you mean, everyone?" "Our relatives. Her friends. People at church." I closed my eyes. What's she saying? Mason sounded uncomfortable. "That you're rushing into marriage. That Ethan isn't financially responsible. That she's trying to protect you." I leaned against the kitchen counter. "So she's making herself look like the hero." "I think she believes she is." A week later, I attended my cousin Olivia's baby shower. I almost didn't go, but Olivia begged me. "Please come. I don't want family drama." "There won't be any." She was wrong. The moment I walked inside, conversations stopped. Not completely. Just enough for me to notice. Several relatives smiled awkwardly. Others avoided eye contact. Then Antonice approached me. "Honey, I'm praying for you." I blinked. "For what?" She frowned. "Your mother said the wedding probably won't happen." I stared at her. "What?" She said your fiancé has major financial problems. I laughed in disbelief. He doesn't. She also said you've been fighting constantly. We're not. Aunt Denise looked genuinely confused. Oh, that's not what we heard. One by one, more relatives approached me. Each version of the story sounded worse than the last. Ethan supposedly had gambling debts. He had a drinking problem. He'd been fired from multiple jobs. Someone even asked if he'd cheated on me. None of it was true. By the time I left the baby shower, I was shaking. I sat in my car for almost 20 minutes before driving home. When Ethan opened the apartment door, he knew something was wrong. What happened? I handed him my phone. Read these. He scrolled through the messages. Some were polite. Others weren't. Maybe your mom knows something you don't. It's okay to postpone a wedding. Marriage is a big decision. He looked back at me. Your mom told them all this? I nodded. I think she's trying to stop the wedding. He sat beside me. What do you want to do? I don't know. For the first time since we'd gotten engaged, I wasn't worried about flowers, or seating charts, or wedding music. I was wondering if my own mother would spend the next 6 weeks trying to destroy the happiest day of my life. Dad finally called 2 days later. I heard about the baby shower. So you know. I do. Did you tell Mom to stop? Silence. Dad? He sighed. I tried. And? You know your mother. Yes, I did. Once she believed she was right. Nothing changed her mind. I wish I could fix this. So do I. Before hanging up, he quietly said, Don't cancel your wedding. I won't. I'm proud of you. Those 4 words caught me off guard. Dad wasn't a man who shared feelings easily. Hearing him say that meant more than he probably realized. The invitations had already gone out. The venue was booked. Everything was paid for. Life moved forward. At least on the surface. Then, exactly 3 weeks before the wedding, my wedding planner called. Her voice sounded nervous. Emma, I need to ask you something. What is it? Did you cancel your reception? I stood up so fast my chair fell over. What are you talking about? We received a phone call this morning. They said they were calling on your behalf. They canceled the ballroom reservation. My heart dropped. I never canceled anything. I know. That's why I'm calling. My hands were trembling. Who called? There was a pause. They identified themselves as your mother. I couldn't breathe. And somehow, I knew this was only the beginning. For a few seconds, I couldn't say anything. I just stood there in my kitchen, gripping my phone so tightly my fingers hurt. My wedding planner, Sandra, stayed on the line. Emma, I'm here. Are you okay? No. I took a slow breath. What exactly did my mother say? Sandra hesitated. She said there had been a family emergency. She knew your reservation number. She confirmed your full name, your wedding date, and your fiancé's name. My stomach dropped. Only someone close to me would know all of that. Did she succeed? No. Sandra's voice softened. The venue manager thought it sounded strange. He asked for your personal confirmation. When your mother couldn't answer a few security questions, he refused. I sat down on the floor. For the first time, I realized this wasn't just about disapproval anymore. My mother was actively trying to stop my wedding. Ethan came home 20 minutes later. The moment he saw my face, he set his work bag on the floor. What happened now? I handed him my phone. He listened quietly as Sandra explained everything again. When the call ended, he looked at me. We need passwords. What? Every vendor. The venue. The florist. The photographer. The caterer. Everyone. He was right. That entire evening, we contacted every business involved with the wedding. Each one added password protection to our account. Some even admitted they'd received strange phone calls over the past week. The florist laughed awkwardly. I thought it was odd. A woman called asking if your wedding flowers could be changed from white roses to funeral lilies. I stared at the phone. What? She said the bride had changed her mind. My chest tightened. It wasn't random anymore. Someone had planned this. The photographer called the next morning. I almost forgot. There was another request. What request? Someone wanted all your bridal portraits canceled. They said the bride didn't want pictures anymore. I looked over at Ethan. He rubbed his forehead. How many calls has she made? Nobody knew. And that frightened me. That weekend, Ethan and I drove to my parents' house. I didn't want another phone call. I wanted answers. Dad opened the front door. His expression immediately changed when he saw us. I figured you'd come. Is Mom here? He nodded toward the living room. She was sitting in her favorite chair reading a magazine as if nothing had happened. She didn't even look surprised. You finally decided to visit. I walked straight toward her. Did you call my wedding venue? She slowly closed the magazine. Yes. I couldn't believe she'd admitted it so easily. Why? Because someone needed to stop this. You tried canceling my wedding. I'm trying to save you. No. I shook my head. You're trying to control me. She stood up. I raised you. I know what's best. I'm 30 years old. And you're acting like you're 18. Ethan stepped forward. Mrs. Carter. She pointed at him. This is between my daughter and me. He stayed calm. It stopped being just between you two when you started interfering with our wedding. She folded her arms. If you're a decent man, you'll walk away. He looked directly at her. I'm not leaving the woman I love. I've stood beside her through every difficult moment. I'm not abandoning her because you don't approve. For the first time, I saw something change in my mother's face. Not anger. Fear. Just for a second. Then it disappeared. Dad quietly spoke. Linda. Enough. She turned toward him. You stay out of this. No. His voice was firmer than I'd heard in years. I've stayed out of it long enough. The room became completely still. He looked at me. I'm sorry. Then he looked at my mother. This has gone too far. She stared at him in disbelief. So you're taking their side? I'm taking the truth's side. You've embarrassed our family. Dad shook his head. No. You've embarrassed yourself. I had never seen him challenge her before. Not once. She picked up her purse. I won't stay here and be disrespected. She walked out of the house and slammed the front door so hard the family pictures rattled on the wall. Dad sat down slowly. I should have stopped this weeks ago. Why didn't you? He looked exhausted. Because arguing with your mother never changes anything. So you just let her destroy my reputation? He closed his eyes. I was wrong. Those 3 words surprised me. Dad almost never admitted mistakes. I kept hoping she'd calm down. Instead, she got worse. He disappeared into the bedroom for a minute before returning with a small notebook. I think you should have this. What is it? I started writing down every phone call she made. I opened it. There were dates, times, names, the wedding venue, the florist, the photographer, the caterer, even my maid of honor. My heart sank. She'd contacted nearly everyone connected to my wedding. On the drive home, neither Ethan nor I spoke much. Finally, he broke the silence. Can I ask you something? Sure. If your mom shows up, what do you want me to do? I looked out the window. I honestly don't know. Part of me wanted to believe she'd change. Another part wasn't so sure anymore. The following Tuesday, my maid of honor, Rachel, invited me to lunch. She looked uncomfortable before we even ordered. I need to tell you something. What happened? Your mom called me. I sighed. What did she say this time? Rachel pulled out her phone. I recorded part of it. She pressed play. My mother's voice filled the restaurant. Rachel, I know Emma won't listen to me, but you're her best friend. Please convince her to postpone the wedding. That man is going to ruin her life. Rachel's voice answered. Has he done something? There was a long pause. Then my mother quietly said, No, I just know. Rachel stopped the recording. Emma, she doesn't actually have a reason. I know. She just decided. For the first time since all this started, I realized something. My mother wasn't protecting me from Ethan. She was protecting herself from losing control over me. That thought hurt more than anything she'd said. 2 weeks before the wedding, another surprise arrived. A thick envelope appeared in our mailbox. There was no return address. Inside were dozens of printed photographs. Pictures of Ethan. At school. Buying groceries. Walking our dog. Standing outside our apartment. Someone had been following him. A typed note sat on top. "You don't know who you're marrying." My hands started shaking. Ethan frowned. "This isn't from your mom." "No, this is different." We immediately called the police. The officer looked through the photographs. They don't contain direct threats. But someone has definitely been watching him. He advised us to install security cameras and report anything unusual. As we left the station, Ethan wrapped his arm around my shoulders. "This is getting bigger than family drama." I nodded. Someone wanted us afraid. The question was, who? That evening, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. It contained only one sentence. "Ask your mother what happened 28 years ago." No name, no explanation. Just that. I stared at the screen. 28 years ago. I was only 2 years old. Whatever had happened, my mother had never told me. And somehow, I had a feeling the answer explained everything. The next morning, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I pictured my mother's face when she walked into that bridal suite. She hadn't come to celebrate. She had come with a mission. And whatever she planned, she wasn't doing it alone. At 7:30, my maid of honor, Rachel, knocked on my hotel room door carrying 2 coffees. "You look awful," she said gently. "I feel worse." She handed me the cup. "You don't have to deal with her today." I wish it were that simple. Rachel sat beside me. "I've been thinking about yesterday." "So have I." "Your mom wasn't acting like someone who wanted reconciliation." I shook my head. "She wanted control." Rachel nodded. "And did you notice something?" "What?" She kept looking toward the hallway every few seconds. I frowned. I thought she was nervous. "I don't think she was nervous." Rachel lowered her voice. "I think she was waiting for someone." That thought settled in my stomach like a rock. I replayed every second of yesterday's conversation. Rachel was right. Mom had glanced over my shoulder constantly, as if she expected another person to arrive, or was making sure someone stayed hidden. Around 9, my phone buzzed. It was my cousin Emily. She rarely called. "Can you talk?" she asked. "Yeah, I probably shouldn't be telling you this." My heart sped up. "What happened?" "I was at your mom's house last night." I sat upright. "Why?" "I stopped by to drop off something for Aunt Carol." "And?" Emily hesitated. "There were people there." "What people?" "Your Uncle Frank." My stomach tightened. "And?" "Your Aunt Linda." I closed my eyes. "Anyone else?" "Your grandmother." "Of course." "The entire family." Emily continued. "They weren't having dinner. They were planning something." "What kind of something?" "I don't know exactly. But I heard your uncle say." She stopped. "What did he say?" "He said, once everyone sees the truth tomorrow, the wedding won't happen anyway." My entire body froze. "What truth?" "I don't know." I couldn't hear everything. But they had papers spread all over the kitchen table. "Papers?" "Yeah. And your mom kept saying she's not going to make a fool out of this family." Silence filled the room. Emily spoke again. "I thought you deserved to know." "You absolutely did." "Thank you." After hanging up, I stared at the wall. Rachel had heard everything. "They're planning something." "I know." "What do we do?" I immediately called Daniel. He answered on the second ring. "Morning, beautiful. I need you to come upstairs." "Everything okay?" "No." 5 minutes. Daniel arrived wearing jeans and a gray t-shirt. The smile disappeared from his face as soon as he saw mine. "What happened?" I explained everything Emily had said. His jaw tightened. "So your family is planning to stop the wedding?" "I think so." He paced across the room. "What papers?" "I don't know." He stopped. "Marriage license?" "No." "Financial documents?" "Maybe." Rachel spoke quietly. "What if they're fake?" Daniel looked at her. "What do you mean?" "They've always tried to control Sarah. If talking didn't work, they might try something else." That possibility hadn't crossed my mind. Fake documents. Fake accusations. Fake evidence. Daniel grabbed his phone. I'm calling our attorney. Our attorney? He smiled slightly. You remember Mark? The real estate lawyer? Yeah. He also handles civil cases. Within 30 minutes, Mark arrived at the hotel. After hearing everything, he leaned back in his chair. If they try creating a scene, don't engage. What if they show fake paperwork? I'll handle it. You'll be at the wedding? I wasn't planning on missing free cake. For the first time all morning, I laughed. By noon, guests had started arriving from out of town. The hotel lobby buzzed with excitement. Everyone seemed happy. Except me. Every unfamiliar face made me wonder. Was that another relative? Were they here to celebrate? Or to destroy everything? Around 1 o'clock, my phone vibrated again. This time it was an unknown number. I almost ignored it. Instead, I answered. Hello. A man's voice spoke quietly. Is this Sarah Collins? Yes. My name is David. I work at Harrison Bank. I frowned. Okay. I don't know if I should be calling, but I think someone is trying to access your grandmother's trust records. I stood up immediately. What? The request came yesterday. Who requested them? I legally can't say. Can you tell me if it was family? Silence. I can't answer that. Please. Another pause. It wasn't you. That was all he said before ending the call. I looked at Daniel. They're after Grandma's trust. His expression hardened. They're desperate. That afternoon, we met with the wedding coordinator. Everything was scheduled perfectly. Ceremony. Cocktail hour. Reception. First dance. Dinner. Cake. Simple. Elegant. Peaceful. Or at least, that had been the plan. The coordinator asked casually, any family situations we should know about? Daniel and I exchanged a look. I finally answered, yes. If anyone tries interrupting the ceremony, remove them immediately. She blinked. Understood. At 4 that afternoon, I received another message. This time from my younger brother, Ethan. Just 6 words. Please don't hate Mom tomorrow. That was it. No explanation. No context. I called him immediately. Straight to voicemail. Again. Voicemail. Again. Nothing. Rachel looked concerned. What if he's warning you? I don't know. What if he's trapped in the middle? That sounded exactly like Ethan. Growing up, he'd always been caught between us. Too afraid to challenge Mom. Too guilty to support her. I texted him. If you're trying to tell me something, please call me. No response. That evening, Daniel and I skipped the rehearsal dinner. Instead, we ordered pizza in the hotel suite with our closest friends. For 2 hours, we laughed. We shared stories. We remembered how we met, how he proposed, how excited we'd been before all this family drama exploded. For a little while, it felt normal. Then someone knocked on the door. Everyone went quiet. Daniel opened it carefully. A hotel employee stood there. Delivery for Sarah Collins. I didn't order anything. It's prepaid. He handed over a small white envelope. No return address. Inside, one single photograph. Nothing else. It showed me, standing beside my grandmother, taken 3 months before she passed away. Across the photo, written in thick black marker, were 6 chilling words. She lied to you about everything. No signature. No explanation. Just those words. Rachel whispered, "What is this?" I stared at the picture. Then I noticed something I'd never seen before. Grandma wasn't looking at the camera. She was looking at someone standing behind the photographer. Her expression wasn't happy. She looked afraid. And suddenly, for the first time since this all began, I wondered if this wasn't only about my mother. Maybe someone else had been pulling the strings all along. I barely slept. That photograph stayed on the nightstand beside my bed all night, and every time I woke up, I picked it up again, trying to understand what I had missed. My grandmother's face wasn't smiling. She looked tense, almost frightened. I had seen that picture dozens of times over the years, yet I had never noticed where her eyes were focused. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking past me. At someone. By 6 in the morning, Daniel was already awake. He found me sitting by the window, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the photo. "You've been up all night." "I keep thinking about Grandma." He sat beside me. What if she was trying to tell me something before she died? He took the picture and studied it. Maybe today we'll finally find out. I hoped he was right, because whatever secret my family had been protecting for years was about to come into the open. By 9 o'clock, the bridal suite was full of laughter. Rachel was making jokes with the makeup artist. 2 of my college friends were helping arrange dresses. Someone had music playing softly in the background. For the first time in weeks, I allowed myself to enjoy the moment. Today wasn't supposed to be about my mother. Today was about marrying the man I loved. Daniel texted me. "Already at the venue. Everything looks perfect. I love you." I smiled and replied, "See you at the altar." About 30 minutes later, there was another knock on the suite door. Rachel opened it. It was Ethan. He looked exhausted. His hair was messy. His eyes were bloodshot. He stepped inside and immediately hugged me. "I'm sorry." "For what?" "For everything." I held his shoulders. "What happened?" He looked around the room. "Can we talk alone?" Rachel quietly ushered everyone else into the hallway. As soon as the door closed, Ethan sat down heavily. "I shouldn't even be here." "Then why are you?" "Because I couldn't let this happen." "What are you talking about?" He rubbed both hands across his face. "Mom isn't coming today to support you." "I know. She's coming to stop the wedding." I nodded slowly. "I figured that much." "No, you don't understand." He looked me straight in the eyes. "She's bringing someone." "Who?" "Dad." I stared at him. "My father." He nodded. My parents had divorced when I was 12. I hadn't spoken to my father in nearly 8 years. Not because I hated him. Because my mother had convinced me he didn't care. She always said, "He started a new family. He forgot about you. He never asks about you." Eventually, I stopped trying. I whispered, "Why would Dad come?" Ethan swallowed. "Because Mom told him you stole Grandma's inheritance." I laughed. Actually laughed. It sounded ridiculous. Nobody would believe that. You'd be surprised what people believe when they're only hearing one side. Ethan continued. "Mom has been calling relatives all week." "What has she been saying?" "That Daniel only wants your money. That Grandma wasn't thinking clearly before she died. That you manipulated her." I felt sick. So she's been destroying my reputation. For months. Daniel had warned me. Rachel had suspected it. Now I knew. This wasn't something my mother decided yesterday. She'd been preparing for this for a long time. "What papers were on the kitchen table?" Ethan hesitated. "I don't know exactly. But I heard Uncle Frank say they finally had enough signatures." "Signatures?" "I think affidavits." My stomach tightened. False witness statements. People signing papers claiming Grandma wasn't mentally competent. If they convinced enough relatives, maybe they hoped to challenge the trust. Not today, but eventually. I looked at Ethan. "Why tell me now?" His eyes filled with tears. "Because Grandma trusted you. And I let Mom convince me that you were selfish. I was wrong." I hugged him tightly. For the first time in years, it felt like I had my little brother back. At 11 o'clock, we arrived at the venue. It overlooked a quiet lake surrounded by old oak trees. Guests wandered through the gardens taking pictures. Everything looked exactly the way I had imagined. Daniel met me near the entrance. He kissed my forehead. "You okay?" Ethan told me everything. Daniel listened quietly. When I finished, he wasn't surprised. "I figured something like that." "You did?" "I hired extra security this morning." "You what?" I wasn't taking chances. I looked toward the entrance. 2 security officers dressed in black suits stood near the gates. Not obvious, but definitely watching. For the first time that day, I breathed easier. An hour before the ceremony, Mark, the attorney, walked into the bridal suite carrying a folder. "I have good news." I raised an eyebrow. "What happened?" "I made a few phone calls." "And?" "Your grandmother updated her trust 6 months before she passed." "I know." "No, you don't." He opened the folder. There was a recorded video. What? A legal recording. She explained exactly why she changed her will. I stared at him. There's a video? He nodded. It was made in my office. 2 witnesses present. A doctor confirmed she was mentally competent. I felt my knees weaken. Then why hasn't anyone mentioned this before? Because no one challenged the trust. Until now. I almost laughed with relief. Grandma, even after she was gone, she had protected me. The ceremony was scheduled for 4 o'clock. At 3:45, guests began taking their seats. Soft piano music filled the garden. I waited inside the bridal room. Rachel adjusted my veil. You ready? I think so. She smiled. No, you're more than ready. Then, voices echoed from outside. Loud voices. Angry voices. The wedding coordinator rushed inside. They're here. I knew exactly who she meant. Daniel later told me what happened. 3 black SUVs pulled into the venue together. My mother stepped out first, wearing a cream-colored dress that looked suspiciously bridal. Behind her came Uncle Frank, Aunt Linda, Grandma's sister Carol, my father, and nearly a dozen relatives. They weren't carrying gifts. They were carrying folders. Security immediately approached. My mother raised her voice loud enough for nearby guests to hear. I have proof this wedding is based on fraud. Guests turned. Phones appeared. Whispers spread through the crowd. Daniel stepped forward calmly. This isn't the place. It absolutely is. She pointed toward the ceremony chairs. Everyone deserves to know what kind of woman she's marrying into. Daniel didn't respond. Instead, Mark walked forward. My name is Mark Reynolds. I'm Sarah's attorney. My mother's confidence faded for just a second. Then she smiled. Perfect. You'll want to see these. She handed him a thick stack of papers. Mark glanced at the first page, then the second. Then he looked directly at her. Where did you get these? They're signed statements. I can see that. His voice remained calm. But they're also legally useless. Her smile disappeared. What? These are opinions, not evidence. Uncle Frank stepped forward. You're lying. Mark calmly removed another folder from his briefcase. I was hoping you'd say that. He pulled out a flash drive. And fortunately, I brought something much more convincing. My mother suddenly looked nervous. What is that? Mark answered quietly. A video recorded 6 months before Margaret Collins passed away. Silence. Complete silence. Even the guests stopped whispering. My mother's face turned pale. She took one slow step backward. No. Mark looked directly at her. Oh yes. And I think everyone should watch it. At that exact moment, my father slowly turned toward my mother. His expression had completely changed. He looked confused, then suspicious, then angry. And for the very first time, I saw my mother's confidence disappear. No one spoke. The lake behind the ceremony site was completely still, but the tension in the garden felt like a storm waiting to break. Mark plugged the flash drive into the venue's projector. The large screen that had been set up for our wedding slideshow flickered to life. My mother took a step forward. You can't show that. Mark looked at her calmly. I can. Margaret Collins signed a legal release allowing this recording to be used if anyone ever challenged her estate. My mother's face lost its color. Guests looked from her to the screen, trying to understand what was happening. Daniel quietly walked over to me and took my hand. You don't have to watch. I do. I needed to know. The video began. My grandmother appeared on the screen, sitting in a lawyer's office. She looked older than I remembered, but her smile was warm. My name is Margaret Collins. Today's date is April 18th. I'm recording this because I have concerns that my final wishes may someday be questioned. She looked directly into the camera. If you're watching this after my death, it means I was right. A quiet murmur spread through the guests. Grandma continued. I have completed a medical examination this morning. My doctor has confirmed that I am of sound mind. She held up the signed evaluation. I know exactly what I'm doing. Then her expression became serious. I also want to explain why I changed my will. Everyone became completely silent. I love all of my grandchildren. But one person has consistently shown me kindness without expecting anything in return. She smiled softly. Sarah. My eyes filled with tears. I watched her visit me every Saturday. When my arthritis became so painful I couldn't cook, she prepared meals. When I couldn't drive anymore, she took me to every doctor's appointment. When I was lonely, she simply sat beside me. Grandma paused. She never once asked about money. She never asked what she would inherit. She only asked if I was comfortable. I squeezed Daniel's hand tighter. Then Grandma said something none of us expected. I've also watched members of my own family treat me like a bank account. The camera captured the attorney looking down at his notes. Grandma continued. I've been pressured to change my will several times. I've been told who deserves my money. And I've even been asked to sign documents I refuse to read. A gasp spread through the audience. My mother's breathing became heavier. Grandma slowly reached beside her chair and picked up a notebook. I kept records. I wrote down every conversation, every request, every threat. She handed the notebook to the attorney sitting beside her. If anyone claims I was manipulated, these notes explain exactly who tried to manipulate me. My mother whispered, No. Mark looked at her. Yes. The video continued. If my daughter, Linda, is watching this. My mother's eyes widened. I love you. But loving someone doesn't mean rewarding bad behavior. You've spent too many years believing money fixes everything. It doesn't. It only reveals who people really are. Several relatives slowly turned toward my mother. No one said a word. Grandma took one last breath before speaking again. Sarah, if you're watching this, I hope you never let bitterness become part of your life. Forgive when you're ready. But never confuse forgiveness with allowing people to control you again. The video ended. The screen went black. For several seconds, the entire garden was silent. Then my father stood up. He turned slowly toward my mother. You told me. Mom changed the will because Sarah pressured her. She couldn't answer. You told me she was confused. Silence. You told me she barely remembered people's names. Still nothing. My father looked at Mark. The doctor's report. It's authentic? Mark nodded. It was completed the same morning. My father's shoulders dropped. He looked at my mother as though he were seeing her for the first time. You lied to me. Tears rolled down her face. I was trying to keep this family together. No. Dad shook his head. You were trying to keep control. Uncle Frank suddenly stepped forward. This proves nothing. Mark calmly opened another folder. It actually proves quite a lot. He removed several bank records. Would you like to explain why Margaret's bank account received multiple withdrawal requests signed with your handwriting? Frank's face turned pale. And perhaps you'd also like to explain these text messages asking Linda to convince Margaret to rewrite her will. Frank looked around desperately. No one defended him. Not even my mother. He quietly lowered his head. I made mistakes. Daniel whispered beside me. Looks like everyone suddenly remembers how to tell the truth. Despite everything, I smiled. Then something happened I never expected. My father walked across the garden toward me. He stopped a few feet away. I owe you an apology. I didn't answer. I failed you. I believed lies because they were easier than asking questions. I should have protected you. Instead, I let you carry blame that was never yours. His voice cracked. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to hear the truth from me. For the first time in years. I believed him. My mother finally walked forward. Mascara streaked her face. She looked nothing like the confident woman who had arrived an hour earlier. She stopped in front of me. I'm sorry. I remained silent. I thought if I could stop this wedding, I'd still have my little girl. You've always been my little girl. You just stopped needing me. I looked at her for a long time. No, I never stopped needing you. I stopped begging you to love me on your terms. She began crying harder. I was afraid. Afraid of what? She looked down. That once you married Daniel, You'd choose his family over ours." I shook my head. There was never a competition. You made it one. Those words seemed to break something inside her. She covered her face and cried openly. For years, I had imagined confronting her with anger. Instead, I mostly felt sadness, because she had spent so much of her life trying to control people that she'd forgotten how to simply love them. The wedding coordinator quietly walked over. "Sarah, we can postpone if you need." I looked around. At my friends. At Daniel. At the guests who had patiently waited through the entire ordeal. Then I looked back at my mother. "I've waited long enough." I turned toward Daniel. "Let's get married." A smile spread across his face. "I was hoping you'd say that." The guests erupted into applause. Some were crying. Others laughed through their tears. As the musicians began playing again, security quietly escorted Uncle Frank away after Mark informed him that investigators wanted to speak with him regarding the documents he had submitted. For the first time that day, no one was looking at the drama. They were looking at us. I took Daniel's hand. Together, we walked toward the ceremony arch. Just before I reached the aisle, I glanced back one last time. My mother was standing alone, watching. Not with anger, not with judgment, just regret. I didn't know what our relationship would look like after today, but I knew one thing. She no longer had the power to decide how my story ended.